For Total Access Overtime, I've got my friends with me. It is Stacey Dales, Mark Ross, Cynthia Freeland, and today's topic is going to be coaches who have to do more with less in 2021. Coaches who are going to have to earn their money. This is basically the basis for voting for Coach of the Year, the guy that lifted his talent to greater heights. Mark Ross, I am going to start with you, my friend.
Well, I'm going to go with the coach I think has to do more with nothing, and that's my man David Culley, who I worked with in Philly for 8 years, one of my most favorite people that I've ever worked with in the NFL. But that roster is bereft of talent there, Mike G. And they were a 4-win team last year, and that's with Deshaun Watson, who is a top 5 quarterback in the league. If Deshaun is not playing, they got to turn to Tyrod Taylor. This could be a 0-win. We're looking at a 0-win team there with the Texans. So I think my man Culley is in for some trouble with the lack. J.J. Watt on the defensive side is not there as well. We know about all the bad trades that they made, which left them without draft picks. Last year's draft, their first pick in the 3rd round, they took a quarterback, Davis Mills from Stanford, who probably won't even play this year as well. So I'm looking at my man Culley. He's going to have a hard time without much talent there in Houston.
They signed a ton of players. The roster turnover in Houston is out of control, and it is across the roster. And then you add an entirely new coaching staff. There are a lot of moving pieces here. 0 wins. We shall see if Mark Ross winds up being right about that. All right, I like this topic because we're not just going to be talking about, teams that are at the bottom of the league. It's also going to be teams that we expect to compete. But how much will they compete? Stacey Dales, you've got a good one.
Yeah, well, I would say in Sean Payton, we trust. Who Dat Nation? I am speaking to you. I think Sean Payton, Mike, has already, and company, has already earned his money. This guy's brilliant. When you lose a Hall of Fame quarterback, a future first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, you're always going to be working with less, are you not? I mean, you may have the rare instance of a Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers situation, but Drew Brees is out, and now you've got a quarterback competition, according to Sean Payton, looming. And by the way, congrats, Sean, on your most recent marriage. Here's what I would say. Look at the history. Follow me with the numbers. In 15 seasons with Drew Brees, guys, listen to this. 135 wins, 77 losses in 15 seasons. Without Drew Brees, 8-4. Now, I know he's had a lot more games with Drew Brees. However, the sample size is important, the last 2 seasons in particular. 4 of those losses without Drew Brees are throwaways because they were basically rest days for Drew Brees getting ready for the playoffs. Mark Brunell, respectively, and Teddy Bridgewater stepping in for him in Week 17. 2 of those games were injury-related, so 8-2 based upon Drew Brees injuries. And in the last 2 seasons, 8-1 with 2 starkly different quarterbacks. This is really important. Teddy Bridgewater 2 years ago, 5-0. He's a pocket passer. Taysom Hill, what is Taysom Hill, you guys? He does a little bit of everything. He's going to use those legs more than Teddy Bridgewater. Well, guess what? The QB controversy or competition, whatever you want to call it, between Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, these 2 guys are different quarterbacks. Pocket passer, Taysom Hill. I think personally it'll be Jameis Winston. Sean Payton is the guy that can correct some of the mistakes. Those are giveaways with Tampa in 5 seasons, 88 interceptions, 50 fumbles. Payton can fix it because he knows how to tailor an offense to a quarterback. Case in point, Teddy Bridgewater, Taysom Hill.
Well, Sean Payton employed Dan Campbell, who's going to really have to earn his keep as the Lions head coach. They're not going to give out awards for being brilliant at pressers. If they were, I wouldn't be worried about him. He wouldn't be in this category because he's already shown us he's brilliant at that. But when it comes to orchestrating this team who has failed to really generate a consistent pass rush, this team with Jared Goff now, who we don't exactly know what to expect. There's no particular area where I have them ranked better than, 16th in the entire league in any position group. And that's being generous and being a little bit helpful with the forward-looking projections. I don't know what to expect from this team. I know Stacey Dales is going to do a heck of a job covering it because it's going to be interesting. But Dan Campbell's going to have to figure a lot out. Yes, TJ Hawkinson's great. DeAndre Swift could be good. We don't exactly know what we're getting from Jeff Okudah. It could go either way very quickly. I just really hope the pressers keep on coming.
All right, keep me in the NFC North for my coach who's going to have to do more with less, and that is Matt Nagy with the Chicago Bears. And look, he's going to have to do everything in his power to make sure this team makes the playoffs. I mean, that's what it seems like for him and general manager Ryan Pace as we head into this, what I would describe as a make or break season, right? I mean, they've got to make the playoffs. And really, it was not a splashy offseason for them. They really didn't add much. In fact, they lost a couple guys, including cornerback Kyle Fuller, who they tried to take a pay cut, and then when he didn't, they cut him. So I don't see a whole lot on paper. I mean, I know they're feeling good about Andy Dalton, and maybe Justin Fields sees the field at some point this season. But to me, this is going to have to be the coaching job of Matt Nagy's career, because he's working without a safety net on this one. And they sold to ownership their plan going into 2021 and why they were going to be more successful. And now it's time to execute that. Mark, I mean, if you're looking at this team right now, is it a playoff team to you? Can Nagy get them there?
Well, the splash they made, Mike G, was that draft day trade to get up there at 10 and get Justin Fields, which I said there was no way they were going into next year, Nagy and GM Ryan Pace saying, you know what, Andy Dalton's going to save our jobs. So Justin Fields, everybody is contingent the Bears season on how well he does, how soon he gets on the field, when he will be ready. And it reminds me of back in the day, the Philly days when we took Donovan McNabb with the second pick, and we had a plan. Doug Peterson was our fall guy quarterback there until Donovan got ready. But Donovan just revitalized the entire organization, which led to 5 NFC Championship games and Super Bowl appearance. And this will be Justin Fields will have to have a similar impact for the Chicago Bears for them to have a successful season, and for Nagy to be a successful coach this year, and Ryan Pace to be a successful GM. So a lot of pressure on Justin Fields, but I think he can do it. I think he'll end up being a fantastic player for that organization.
Mark, I can tell you that living in the Chicago area, these fans are eagerly anticipating his arrival. But because I live here, I cover the Packers and the Bears quite a bit. Am I going to be the one that addresses the elephant in the room, you guys? What if, okay, aforementioned coach, what if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back to Green Bay? Guess what? Matt LaFleur and his 26-6 record over the last 2 seasons as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, that all goes to the wayside. Now Matt LaFleur is the one working with less. Are you kidding me? We're talking about Peyton Manning. We're talking about Tom Brady. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers here. That is the impact. This guy can basically run a game on his own. But if he is not here, Matt LaFleur, we are going to see him put to the test on the stage as the coach of this football team. And they have been fantastic offensively last year. They had 11 giveaways in the league. That was the fewest in the league. Back-to-back NFC championship appearances for this football team. Jordan Love, guys, in my estimation, he's basically a rookie right now because he didn't get snaps due to COVID last year. So every single snap is critical for this young man. As they roll into training camp, will Aaron Rodgers be the quarterback, or will Matt LaFleur, Cynthia, will he be put to the test without the future first ballot Hall of Famer?
There's no doubt Aaron Rodgers is one of 3 quarterbacks, and he's the best, who makes his O-line even better. Not just that, but look at who their opponents are. The entire NFC West is thrilled if the Green Bay Packers do not have Aaron Rodgers. And by the way, it kind of has a cascading effect around the entire league. So when I see what Matt LaFleur will have to, the rabbit that he'll have to pull out of his hat, or several rabbits, probably 17 of them, in order to make this work, and by the way, keep everyone happy, I think it's going to fall a ton on Aaron Jones. But my goodness, there's going to be no one would want that job. I think 31 other coaches would be like, we're fine, you can have, go ahead.
This was great. We had coaches who are just starting out. We have coaches who are on the proverbial hot seat. And we have coaches who are on the verge of a Super Bowl, but might be without a Hall of Fame quarterback, which, yes, they would have to then do more with less. This was a phenomenal chat. You guys were great. You did more, you guys over here, with less. That's how it happens.